Alright folks, welcome to our next lesson, disasters and the environment. Alright, just this and one more to go. So water pollution, there's your date and objective. Okay, so again we're looking at the causes, effects and solutions to water pollution this time. It's going to be very similar to the layout of our land pollution lesson. Okay, we look at one little worksheet which has been sent out on the Sunday lesson, or sorry, in the Sunday outline, not lesson, the Sunday outline of lessons. And we look at a little case study as well. So what actually is water pollution, first of all, right? So this is our first little bits of notes. Again, just like land pollution, there's going to be quite a few notes today, all right? So water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, all right? It is usually caused by human activities. Again, human activities are the main issue. Water bodies include, for example, lakes, rivers, oceans, aquifers, and groundwater, water stored in the ground, all right? Water pollution results from when contaminants, waste, chemicals, plastics are introduced into the natural environment. So something very important I want you to, actually I'll skip down. It's also known as water contamination. So water pollution, water contamination, exactly the same thing. All right. Now, very important. Water pollution is not the same as water wastage. We waste a huge amount of water each day in our homes and in our jobs and everywhere. But this is different from pollution. We're not talking about wasting water today. We're talking about how we pollute water. Pollution, as we've said, is usually when contaminants are added or introduced to the water systems. All right. So make a note of all of that there, and we'll move on. Two little key words, okay, byproducts and microplastics. So byproducts is an old word. Microplastics is a bit of a newer idea, all right, and it's a pretty serious one that we're discovering more and more about. So a byproduct is, these are products which are made during the production of something else. So it's a byproduct. If you're making something and during that process you produce a waste or something else, that's a byproduct, okay? Pollutants can be created while making fertilizers. These byproducts are often dumped into water supplies. So when you're making something, quite often there's other little things produced and they're byproducts. Again, very regularly, those byproducts are wastage. We don't want them, so we throw them away. Microplastics then, these are not a specific type of plastic, but refer to any plastics which are very small. Micro, meaning small. They also get washed into water bodies very easily. All right, so these have been found, they've started to find these microplastics in the stomachs of lots of fish and turtles and all sorts of wildlife, okay? And when they do samples from water, or they take sand and stuff or rocks and soil from the bottom of the oceans, they find huge levels of plastics, microplastics, actually in them already. Okay, so they're very serious. Now, what causes this type of pollution? So I'm going to flip over to a worksheet. Okay, I'll show you which one it is. All right, it's the one titled 8 Disasters and the Environment. Okay, it's one of the last pages, the last 3 or 4 pages I believe are about water pollution. So it's a long document, but you'll only be using the pages about water pollution. If you can print out those pages and highlight the passages, that'll be fine. Otherwise, you'll need to make some notes from the sheet, and I'll go through them now, all right? So the sheet looks like this. The one we're going to be working from says hazards, water pollution, polluting the seas, all right? And then the second half looks like this here. So if I go to the actual document, just give us a second, okay? This is what it looks like here. This is the page you need. Now this is a very long document, okay? As you can see, there's lots of pages. You want to come all the way down, never mind any of that. Okay, you're going to come all the way down to one of the last pages that says this at the top, okay? You can read this little bit here, and these boxes, those boxes all need, these 6 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they all need to be highlighted and read through. I'm going to put some notes on the PowerPoint now, okay? Which are very short. They're briefer versions of that. Again, that is the main sheet we're going to be using. These are the 6 ways that water gets really badly polluted. We've got industrial waste, waste from factories and industry. Urban centers, urban means cities, okay, and more people live in cities now. So we produce huge amounts of waste in cities that gets into the water through our drainage and our sewage systems. Farming and agriculture, again, that's going to be almost exactly the same as land. Then you've got oil refineries and nuclear reactors. So this is actually about making energy in things. Okay, we use a lot of water in that, and we also pollute the water very badly. The last one we're going to do is about oil spillages. Okay, oil is transported all over the world in huge ships, and we look at a little case study all about that. All right, so back to our PowerPoint. These are the notes all of you are going to have to make. All right, so what causes this type of pollution? First of all, farming. You will notice I've kept the pictures exactly the same as from land pollution. I did that on purpose, okay? Spraying pesticides and fertilizers on crops can run off the land into the water. They can kill water wildlife and eventually remove the oxygen from water due to algae growing. Now this is a huge problem. Think about what fertilizers are used for. Okay, we spray fertilizers, or we put it in the soil to help things grow. Now when that fertilizer gets into water, it causes what we call algae blooms, and it causes huge amounts of algae to grow very rapidly in the water. When that happens, the algae, okay, it starts to block out the sunlight and absorb all of the oxygen. All right, so a lot of other things in the water cannot survive, and eventually the water loses its oxygen that it needs to keep everything alive. All right, make a note of this, please. Second of all, then, industry. And again, we got our picture here. Not an uncommon picture. Alright, you can see the levels and quantities of stuff we're talking about here. Chemicals and waste products or byproducts from factories get dumped in our water system, which is all connected. What I mean by this aspect, water system, all connected. A lot of factories, okay, especially historically, would have been built along riverways or canals, okay? All rivers flow back to the sea, every single one. Okay, then all the oceans and seas are connected, and then all that water evaporates, it goes up, it rains, it lands in the rivers or the oceans, and it goes around in a big cycle. So once pollution gets into this system, it's very hard to get out. Okay, again, you can see the level of material being pumped out from industries into the water. All right, shocking. Next of all, then, a big one, and this is getting worse. This is on a more individual scale, okay? Urban areas, cities, again, make a note of this. Sewage and drainage systems in cities, which have a lot of people, often dump their waste out into the nearest water source. Again, if you look at any map, most major cities are built along riverways or built beside the ocean. So when cities start to get too big, the sewage system cannot keep up. The drainage systems can't keep up. So they just start pumping everything out into the nearest water source and forget about it. Littering, again, would be included here in dumping material. You can see some pictures here. This is the most polluted river in the world, the Yamuna River in India. It's essentially just a big tip. You actually can't see most of the surface anymore because there's so much rubbish floating on top of it. Okay. Energy production is the next one. Nuclear waste and from nuclear power stations has been known to leak into water systems, causing illness for humans and wildlife. Again, once it's in the system, it's hard to get out. This is a place called Fukushima in Japan. And I don't know if you can see the way the water is all different colors here. And there's definitely some leakage of this radioactive material getting out there. That will kill wildlife, it'll cause mutations, and it's bad for any humans, alright? The same can happen at oil refineries. So you can see again all the pipes and this water all frothy and unnatural, okay? All you have to think about is, again, if all this water is connected, some of it will probably get into our drinking water. And then that will start to affect humans. So this is a huge issue, not just for wildlife, okay? Our last one on causes, let me just finish this. Okay, lovely. Our last one on causes then is oil spillages. All right, when oil is being transported around the world by oil tanker or oil ship, there can be leaks of oil into the sea. All right, now this isn't one ship a day or one boat a year. All right, this is one of the biggest, most valuable industries in the world. Oil is constantly put on these huge big ships and transported all over the world every single day. All right, and if some of these, they carry millions of tons of oil. Now if some of this gets into the water, we all know that oil doesn't mix with water, so it damages everything it touches really badly. Also, this is oil not like it's not oil that you put in the pan before you cook some food or some chicken. This is crude oil, all right, which is a really thick black substance. We'll look at it a little bit later when we do our case study. There's also drilling for oil. All right, so what we do is we build these big platforms out into the ocean, and then through here they drill all the way through the water down into the land under the ocean, and they try and pump up water. Now, there has been events where these oil drills or oil rigs break and they catch fire and they start leaking oil out like crazy. Okay, there was a big one in the Gulf of Mexico, not far from the Bahamas, which had a massive oil spill and destroyed a lot of the ocean. Okay, we'll continue in the second video.